everybody, and welcome back to another episode. This is episode number 3 of the KO podcast. My name is Tyler Russo, and today I'm going to be talking about UFC 275, Top Rank Boxing, and more. Let's ring that bell and get this show underway. Alright, and kicking off the show, I'm going to start with UFC 275. It was a pretty good card. I'm going to start with the early prelims and just kind of go over some of these earlier fights a little bit quickly. So we had Jocelyn Edwards getting the decision win. We had Savannah Gomez-Jarez getting a huge knockout. That was a beautiful knockout that she had. It was brutal, and she got bonus of the night. Everybody who had a finish on the card, I think, got a performance of the night, if I am correct. We move on to the prelims. We had some good fights. Brandon Allen had the decision win. Michette had a brutal knockout over Steve Garcia. And then we had a crazy final prelim against Choi Sung-woo and Joshua Caballo. And Caballo got the decision win. It was a split decision win. But that was a crazy fight. And kicking off the main card, we had Jack Della Melena. He got the TKO through a body shot. It was a pretty brutal body shot, too. His opponent just kind of went right to his knees after getting a couple of those body shots. They were brutal. And then moving on to the next fight, we had Andre Filio taking on Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews got it done. He finished Filio. Very impressive victory. You know, Filio was on a roll, and he was much more active than Matthews, and it was really impressive for Matthews to come out and get the finish in that fight. Now, moving on, we got Weili Zhang and Joanna Jacek. She made her return, and woo, it was a crazy knockout by Weili Zhang. Spinning back fist, or really spinning, she got Joanna with her forearm, so it was really a spinning forearm knockout, but it was a brutal knockout, crazy knockout, and she did a cool ass flip to celebrate. Unfortunately, after the fight, Joanna Jacek did retire, so big respect to her, the former champ. You know, she really helped craft this women's strawweight division for years, and happy retirement to her, and I hope we see her in more roles. I hope she stays close to the MMA community because she's a great MMA mind, and great career for her, former champ. And moving on to the co-main event, this one was pretty controversial. We had Valentina Shevchenko taking on Taila Santos. Santos put up an amazing fight, and she arguably may have won that fight, but the damage was more on her face than Valentina. I think it was an inadvertent headbutt that really closed her left eye. So she was looking pretty bad while the judges were rendering their scorecard. So I think that kind of went in Valentina Shevchenko's favor. But Shevchenko, she gets it done by decision. And it was the first time, I think, since she lost to Amanda Nunes that she lost a scorecard in her fight, which is incredible. But Shevchenko, I think she should definitely try to go get double champ status. That's what I was saying in my last episode. I think she deserves it. I think she's been an amazing champ. Everything that the UFC has asked her to do, she's done and more. And I really think if she wants it, she can go get that double champ status. But big props to Santos. They might run it back because Santos put up an amazing fight. And as I said before, she may have won this fight. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing this ran back. And now we're going to move on to the main event. Glover Teixeira taking on Yuri Prochazka. I picked Prochazka to win, and he did. But I did not expect the fight that occurred. I mean, this was a back-and-forth fight. Both guys were rocked at multiple points, hurt at multiple points. Oh, you could see they were wearing the damage on their faces. And in round 5, with 4 minutes and 32 seconds, Yuri Prochazka submits Glover Teixeira. It was insane. This was maybe one of the greatest light heavyweight fights ever. It was such a back-and-forth battle. It was intense. It was bloody. They were battered. They were bruised. They were showing all their heart in there. And Prochazka, with him getting that win, I think we may have entered a new era of the UFC light heavyweight division. I think he's going to hold on to this belt for a pretty long time because he's 29-3 and he's only 28 or 20. He's 29 years old, so he's still in his prime. I think he is such a hard guy to beat. He is an amazing athlete. He's an amazing striker. And I just think that he's going to be a lot to handle, and I think he's going to defend this belt a good amount of times. And now we're going to transition to some top-rank boxing. All right, while UFC 275 was going on, I tuned into some top-rank boxing as well. We saw Edgar, the Chosen One Berlanga, get the decision victory against Alex Ingalo, and yeah, it was a good performance by him. I wouldn't say great. I would say it was good. But a little weird moment happened during the fight. I guess Berlanga tried to bite his opponent in the clinch. Maybe that was because he was frustrated and he just wasn't getting the shots that he wanted to land as cleanly. And that's just really my only point on this. The main event was really all I was looking at, and he's a great prospect, and it was great to see him get the win. And also Top Rank this upcoming weekend, June 18th, they have a light heavyweight unification bout. Benavidez versus Smith Jr. That should be a very good fight. I'm definitely going to tune into that main event. And also, I do have to give Top Rank some props. There was a preliminary card on ESPN Plus, so I was able to watch some of those fights, and I'm glad I didn't have to listen to the announcers ramble on about the main event unnecessarily for so freaking long. And so big props to Top Rank. Thank you for putting on some fights. And now let's preview this upcoming UFC card. This card is taking place in Houston, Texas, in front of a live audience. I love that. UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Emmett. Let's review this card. We have a pretty stacked card, in my opinion. We got the first fight. We got Kyle Daukaus. He's a great fighter. We got Phil Hawes, and we have a very interesting bantamweight matchup between Eddie Weiland and Cody Stanman. So I'm definitely going to be looking at that. That's a fight that really stood out to me. We got Ricardo Lamos and Danny Chavez, both really entertaining fighters. Court McGee, the veteran, taking on Jeremiah Wells. That's another great fight. And then we have Adrian Yanez. Yanez, he's been one of my favorite prospects to watch. This guy is a great boxing fighter, really. It's just so fluent, his combinations, and it's head, body, and he's fought some pretty good guys on his way to becoming this highly touted prospect, and I cannot wait to see him fight. He is in the prelim main event. Now moving on to the main card, we got Julian Marquez taking on Gregory Rodriguez. That's another entertaining fight. We got, excuse me if I pronounce these names really badly, but we got Demor Ismagulov and Guram Kabludez, I think that's how you say it. And that seems like another good fight on paper. I don't know too much about those fighters. And then we got Joaquin Buckley, owner of one of the craziest knockouts I have ever seen. I'm still in awe of how he did that. That was just one of the craziest knockouts that I've seen live. And then we got a welterweight matchup that's pretty intriguing. We got Tim Means taking on Kevin Holland. Everybody knows who Kevin Holland is. He's a badass. I'm a big fan of his. Love his attitude. Love his big mouth. It's funny to see him fight at such a high level, but still talk in the octagon, which is pretty hard. That's pretty hard to do. A lot of concentration. He looked really good in his welterweight debut against Cowboy Oliveira. That was a very good performance, and Oliveira is not a pushover. He was released after that fight, but he was on a couple fight skid. But Oliveira, solid opponent to really make your welterweight debut, moving down, and Kevin Holland impressed me in that. And moving on to this co-main event, I'm very excited for this. This fight was supposed to happen about a month ago, I think, but unfortunately it fell through because Donald Cerrone got food poisoning, I think. But this co-main event, I may shed a tear after this fight ends because it could be Donald Cerrone and Joe Lauzon's last fights. These are two pioneers of MMA. These are two legends of the game. In my opinion, both of these men are Hall of Famers. Both of these guys have given their whole life to MMA. And Joe Lauzon, he's such a pioneer in MMA in the Massachusetts scene. His gym is big over here. I'm in the New England area as well, so much respect goes to Lauzon for really bringing his expertise back to where to Boston and this area, and just much respect to him. Moving on to this main event, it's a good main event. We got Calvin Kattar, another Boston guy, taking on Josh Emmett. He is a powerhouse. If you have not seen his knockout of Michael Johnson, go watch it. He has cannons in his hands. You need to watch out for him. His last fight, I think, was against Dan Ige, and he won by decision, if I am correct. Let me check that because I hate being wrong. And his last fight was against Dan Ige. Yep, and he won by decision, so I was right. But this fight, very intriguing on paper. Kattar, I think I'm gonna ride with Kattar right now, but Kattar, he had a very impressive performance against Jacati, and he was a lot of people counted out Kattar in that fight, but he messed his opponent up bad. And Jacati, a lot of people thought that he was going to run through Kattar, but Kattar is tough as nails. Everybody in the New England cartel is tough as nails. So I think I'm gonna have to roll with Kattar. I think he's gonna be able to control Emmett's power. He usually has pretty good defense, and he's just got a freaking chin on him. So Emmett's gonna have to break him down. He's gonna have to not headhunt for at Kattar. He's gonna have to go for those body shots to open up that head of Kattar. And I think that's really Emmett's path to winning. But as of this moment, I'm going to take Kattar in this fight. And a couple loose points I just want to touch on. Bare knuckle boxing, MVP Michael Venom Page is taking on Mike Platinum Perry. What the hell? I did not expect that. When I saw that on Twitter, I thought it was a joke, but it wasn't, because all the accounts that said it were verified. What the hell is that? I love Bellator for doing that. I love that they let their fighters go into different organizations while still under contract with them. I feel like the UFC, they're just not going to let their fighters fight outside the organization. It's just, that's how UFC has rolled, really, except for when they had people go to Pride. But that was years and years ago. But Scott Coker and Bellator, thank you for letting your fighters be free to go do some other stuff while being under contract. Bellator had another fighter go fight in Eagle FC. So, I think it really helps their brand. But Bellator, you gotta promote your fights a little bit more. That's one of the biggest problems with Bellator. You don't know that they're having an event, and you got to go look it up yourself, and I don't understand that at all. But I have to give props to Bellator for letting their fighters fight in all different promotions, and it's a risk for Bellator. MVP is one of their top-ranked welterweights, so there is risk involved in this, but Bellator is not afraid to take risk, I guess, and you got to commend them for that. And another fight that I think was just announced yesterday or the day before, but Floyd Mayweather, he's going to fight Makura Ascura. I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, but they're going to fight sometime in September. So Floyd Mayweather is going to be back in action, and it's pretty big. I don't know what the rules are going to be, but it was pretty vague, but they did face off. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of handle that. I don't know if it's going to be a boxing match or if it's just going to be mixed rules, but who knows? It's going to be interesting. It's always interesting to see Floyd Mayweather in action. And also just want to give a big shout out to the Boxing Hall of Fame classes of 2020 and 2021. The class of 2020 had Bernard Hopkins, Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Mosley, Christy Martin, and Luca Reicher. And then the class of 2021 was Vladimir Kachkov, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Andre Ward, Layla Ali and Ann Wolfe. And then we had the class of 2022, Miguel Cotto, Roy Jones Jr., James Toney, Regina Hamletmick, and Holly Holm. So congratulations to all of them and all of the sacrifices that they made to get to this point in their career. Another big hand to these three classes. Congratulations to each and every one of you. And also just announced recently, I think it was announced on June 11th, Usman vs. Edwards 2 is going to be taking place on August 20th. I'm excited for that fight. I always love to see Usman fight. Usman, he's the GOAT in my opinion. This guy, I don't see anyone beating him. Edwards is a great opponent, a great challenge for him, but right now Usman's just on another level than everybody else. I mean, he beat Colby Covington twice. Colby Covington is the number one welterweight in the world, other than the champ. So if you beat Covington is such a hard guy to win against. I mean, just look at what he did to Jorge Masvidal. That was a dominant win. Whether you like him or not, Colby Covington, his last fight was a dominant win, and obviously Usman kept him in control. So that shows how good Usman is. So Usman, he's going to be welterweight champ for a long time, in my opinion. So that's a fight that I'm looking forward to. Hopefully it's a good card behind that fight. And that's going to wrap up this episode of the KO podcast. Thank you for listening and taking the time out of your busy schedule. If you want to stay in touch with the podcast and me, just go on Twitter and look up the KO podcast with Tyler Russo. I will pop up. I'm very active on there. DM me, ask me questions. Please interact with me. And that's going to be it for this episode. Everybody have a blessed rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.